correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPG, the podcast where me and my friend Steve...
We're playing games this time.
Before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge something important. The setting of this campaign, Origin, is inspired by West African cultures, histories, and aesthetics. None of the players, and certainly not myself, have lived experience or even ancestry from that part of the world. While Origin is part of the canonical setting for Exalted, I've drawn on real-world West African traditions to help bring the setting more fully to life. This isn't meant to be an accurate historical or cultural portrayal, and it is definitely not a commentary on any real-world nations, peoples, or beliefs. One key difference is theological. While Timbuktu and the surrounding regions were deeply shaped by the arrival of Islam, Exalted has its own divine and mythological structure that plays out very differently. My hope is to approach these inspirations with respect and care, and I welcome feedback if I fall short. In the session notes, there will be a short list of resources to learn about the real history of West Africa and the Sahel. Thank you. All right. I guess we can start playing then. Hellbore flies out the window and goes and perches on the front porch, and you can see that there are a dozen armed men in uniform, in two different uniforms, and also a lioness.
Okay, well that's interesting. Does anyone recognize those uniforms? And I'll describe them.
Well, the unbound door warden says, that's the Prince's Guard, is one of them.
Oh, we needed to talk to him anyway, didn't we?
Her.
Sorry.
Time like the present, I suppose.
Yeah, in creation, Prince is correct for all ruling princes, regardless of gender.
Okay.
Fair.
Which I admit I have to love. Or I have to admit I love, rather. I don't have to admit anything, but I do love that.
But so this is for the local nobility?
Yeah, this is the ruler of... The Prince's Guard is a small force that answers to the Prince of Origin.
Okay.
The pinnacle of the local nobility, so to speak.
Alright, well, nothing like going to the top of the food chain.
If we're gonna sell fire ones to anyone, it's gonna be the Prince. Right?
Alright.
Maybe? Hopefully.
When you go to the front door, yes, there's 5 of the Prince's Guard and 5 of this other group of troops. But the most visually striking individuals are the 3 that seem to be in charge. The officer of the Prince's Guard looks to be in his early 50s, weathered, broad-shouldered, disciplined posture, watchful eyes, graying dreadlocks tied back with a bone clasp. No jewelry, carries a blade older than himself. He's wearing lamellar with copper-plated pauldrons, polished but unflashy. By his side is his lioness companion, Taneko. She has a coat the color of dark copper, smoldering ash, eyes that glow like burning incense coals, and she wears ceremonial torques and beads carved with scenes of ancient oaths and famous guards of the past. And there she is. The third individual is even more striking, I guess you could say. He's tall and broad, with a frame like quarried stone, dark bronze skin, sun-darkened, skin marbled faintly with pale, chalky striations across his jawline, like subtle veins of quartz-like shimmer. His eyes have a golden cast when they catch firelight. He's wearing reinforced lamellar, dyed a dark red-brown, with layered over a gambeson. His pauldrons are copper-plated and engraved with low-relief geomantic glyphs. His belts and boots are leather, cracked but clean, functional, not ornamental. And the fact that he looks like he's in his 20s, and the fact that he has a 4-foot-long white jade sword slung over his shoulder, indicates to you that he is almost certainly one of the Exalted, most likely a dragon-blooded. He politely introduces himself as Lokras of Taimasa, of the noble house Taimasa. He introduces his compatriot as Captain Varnel Taviso and the lioness Taneko.
Well met.
And he says, "My friends, I bring regards from Her Serenity, Prince Zakhaira, whose eyes have turned at last towards your deeds. The prince does not summon, that would imply force, and you are not her vassals. But she invites in the name of honor, hospitality, and perhaps a shared destiny. Tea, talk, there are questions she would prefer to ask you directly, rather than rely on rumor and merchant gossip." And he smiles and says, "It is said that heroes should be seen. It is wiser still when they choose when and how they are seen." And he hands you, to whoever's standing closest to him, an embroidered silk cloth with a token on it. It says, "This token carries no chain, no summons, no blade. It is not a seal of judgment, but of welcome. Bear it, and no gate will be closed to you within the palace. Decline it, and no door will be forced open in its stead. The prince leaves your path to your own." But the prince is watching now and wonders who it is she watches. The design on the embroidered cloth is a copper sun disk flanked by 2 stylized ibex horns, which is a symbol of authority, power, and prosperity. It says, we would be pleased to escort you to the palace, or if you prefer to come at another time, so be it."
We would graciously accept this invitation. Would it be preferable and honor the prince more if we came immediately or at an appointed time?
It does. Her Serenity seemed to be quite eager to speak with you.
Out of character, I mean, we've had enough time to, clean up after being on the road and whatnot,
Yes.
right?
I said
Okay.
It's been a day or two.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, as long as we're presentable, I have no objections.
No, Finn would have no objections either. He'd just make sure that everything is in order with the oath bound before leaving.
Sort of, hey, we're going to go see the prince. If we don't come back, you can assume we've been executed and the contract is over.
Well, just making sure they're not gonna,
Uh-huh.
that they have something to do rather than milling about doing nothing.
Yeah.
I've seen the videos. What happens when soldiers don't have anything to do?
Yes, well.
Look, all I'm saying is we make awesome TikToks, okay?
I've noticed.
Y'all not right. Back in my day, it was TikToks. Anyway.
All right, look, Grandpa.
Get off my lawn!
He told us that not too long ago, actually.
I just had an NPC tell you to get off his lawn, and you did. All I'm saying. So you guys are escorted to the palace, which is, it is nice. It is, white stone, marble. There's all sorts of geometric decorations and lion motifs, and every inch of it is decorated in one way or the other. And eventually you are taken to a small, informal sitting room, which has 4 people in it, one of whom is obviously the prince, Zakira, a strikingly beautiful and regal woman dressed in very expensive clothing. The second is a lioness with orange eyes and slightly darker fur than the average, who is seated at her side. The third appears to be a servant of some sort, and the fourth is a small boy dressed in clothing that is absolutely way more expensive than you should ever put on a child, and who is obviously deeply uncomfortable to be wearing all this nonsense, and is but you kind of get the vibe that he's been threatened within an inch of his life regarding, behaving in a proper, dignified way in front of guests. And Lokras and Taviso and Taneko all stay. The rest of the guards depart, and Lokras introduces, of course, Her Serenity, Princess Akira, Tamaris, her companion, the lion, and Iron, heir to the throne of origin. And she sort of bows slightly and says, "Greetings. I am pleased that you accepted our invitation."
How could we not accept such a gracious invitation from one such as yourself? It would be the utmost disrespect to not. And Nim bows to her very respectfully.
Yeah, so is Cyclone.
Nim will also give his respects.
Yeah, I'll nod.
Well, you have risen due to the blessing of the gods, more than most mortals would imagine. You are strangers to this city, but shall we be strangers much longer? And she sort of gestures, and the boy stands up and says, as heir to the Ibex seat of origin, I greet you and bid you welcome to our city. And she says, "Very good, Iron," and gestures to the servant who leads the child away, and she says, "He is easily distractible and would become bored. And if there's anything that we all do not want, it is a bored 7-year-old."
Nim chuckles at that.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
Cyclone
I'm
does as well.
absolutely not going to hold back the giggle, because that's funny.
He will. I am attempting to introduce him to the role of a prince in small doses at first. So, what are you doing in my city? And what is this project? What is this mercenary group? The Red Fangs had been here for a year. Now they are disbanded. And now some of them are still together, calling themselves the Oathbound. What an interesting sobriquet.
We are attempting to make something more pure and noble than a simple mercenary group. We aim to leave creation in a better place than we found it.
Is it true that the Oathbound are yours?
Define yours. I do not own them. They are not slaves. They
In
can
service
go.
to you.
Then yes, they are in service to me, of their own volition, though.
Have you lands or an income?
We are working on that.
Keep them.
We are working on that. We have been negotiating contracts and believe we have a means in which to see this through.
Interesting. Lokris, when we are done, would you discuss the details of their immediate need for support? And he goes,
Can I read her? Can I read intentions on her? Actually,
You absolutely can.
that's perception. That's perception socialized, correct?
Yes. What is your intent? Do you want to know what she's trying to do in this conversation? Or do you want to know what relevant intimacies she had?
I'd really like to know her relevant intimacies. And does this conversation count as a stunt?
Yeah, I'll give you those 2 dice.
And we're full back on moats, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna spend 4 moats personal on socialize excellency.
Alright. I have to step away for 1 second. I will be back in just a moment. Go ahead and roll your dice.
Oh, and spend a willpower.
I just looked at my charms, and I'm going to say that after having played, like, all the other characters that I've played in Exalted have always had, I've always played the diplomat or the night cast, the eclipse, something like that. So I'm like, oh, hey, I don't have anything like that. Oh, good. I get to stand here and be like, is she telling the truth? Is she lying? Good question.
Yeah, well, this being my first real experience with this system, I'm a little lost, but just trying to play the sneaky bastard in a lot of ways.
Wonderfully, I promise you.
Yes, you're doing great.
I cannot believe I've been playing this game since first edition.
My apologies. That was inconveniently timed. So,
You're all
how
good.
many?
You're all good. I got 7 successes.
Alright, and what'd you want to know?
Her relevant intimacies.
I would say the 2 most relevant ones are Origin must endure even if I am unloved, and to rule is to wear the mask that fits the hour.
M sighs deeply. Prince, can we speak candidly and abandon our masks for but a moment? And he holds his hands out kind of like in supplication, very genuinely and very sincerely.
She sort of inclines her head.
Creation, I think we can all agree, stands upon the precipice of tumult. Things are changing rapidly, and in ways no one could predict. As beings in power, we have an obligation to protect those who cannot protect themselves. In order for all of creation to endure, we have to learn to trust one another. Trust me when I say what we are building here is the future that creation can depend on. I promise you, everything we do with honorable intentions.
Well, that sounds like a instill, tie, circle, trust. That's what it sounds like to me.
Sure, yeah, I'll do that.
So, that also sounds like a charisma. I could see it as socialized, but probably more presence, I think.
Can I use my captivating specialty?
I think so, yes. As a mortal, she is very strong-willed, but that still is only a resolve of 4.
One moment, I just need to look at my charms.
But it's going to go up to 7 because you're... No, it's going to... No, it's not. You're not actually going against any of her specific intimacies.
So she's heard about the battle, so presumably she knows we're not mortal, correct? I feel like
there's a reason she sent an Exalt to deliver a invitation.
Then I'm going to spend 3 modes peripheral for listener swaying argument. I'm putting everything on the level. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not lying to her, I'm being very honest with her, I'm showing her what I am and who I am and speaking from the heart. But 3 modes for listener swaying argument. So it gives me 1 automatic success and additionally granting 1 non-charm bonus dice for every 2 points the target's resolve is boosted by any me. So do I gain any bonus dice from that?
She's not. Her resolve is not being boosted.
Okay,
None
so-
of her intimacies directly apply.
Perfect. So that gives me the one automatic success. I'm also going to spend 3 motes personal for the presence excellency.
Mm.
And then does my speech count as stunned?
Yes, 2 dice. And a
I'm not gonna...
success. Why not?
Oh, cool. Okay, so I have 2 successes already.
Mm-hmm. You could theoretically fail this roll. Theoretically.
I could theoretically fail this roll, and that would be very interesting.
Yes.
9 successes.
That is more than 4. So, she says, well, then let us speak honestly. I know the legends of the soldiers of old, and so I find myself in a position where I have personages of great power in my city, operating, moving, and I would know whether you are allies or enemies. And if you are allies, well, what your intentions are. If we're going to lay all our stones on the table.
I cannot speak for the intentions of every one of my circle. My intentions are to liberate the lap eventually, for it to be a home of safety and freedom for all, who are not under the heel of oppressors.
You are a long way from the lap.
Indeed I am. I had to leave. For reasons you can probably guess. He looks to his circle. May I make the prince an offer, something that we were going to attempt to sell to bolster our needs? I think it more prudent to offer it to her. And he waits for a response from the circle.
I think Cyclone will consider for a moment and just nod in agreement.
Same.
Ben will kind of cross his arms a little, stand back from it a bit, but he won't disagree or interfere with it.
In our pursuit of our goals, we have come into possession of some 400 fire wands. I can offer you 200 of them and the promise that the 200 that remain with us will be registered with the city and government officials.
He looks at her 2 military advisors, and Loker says, yeah, that would help.
Consider it done.
And Loker says, I'll work out the details with you after she meets. So, I've heard much about what you would do in Eclipse, but what would you do after all, Origin is the place where you have destroyed a mercenary unit and raised a new one in its place.
Speak to that, I will defer to the rest of my circle. I thank you for your time. And he bows to her, as do her station, and moves into the background to let someone else speak, because I don't want to hawk this entire game tonight, everyone.
So, unless Ben wants to tell it, I will. Initially, we came to your city on a quest for knowledge by a companion who is not currently present, or if he is, I'll motion to Parviz. Through circumstances, we witnessed one of your citizens, a child, being tracked by a man who wished to do him significant harm, which we prevented. This led to a meeting with concerned citizens about the gods seeming to have ceased to participate in Origin, and their concern that the gods may look unfavorably on Origin's, pardon the word, but I don't know a better one, servitude with Gem.
She bristles at that word, visibly, but
Their hope was that we might be able to help Origin become once more the first among equals. That said, as cards are on the table, and speaking for myself, no, I do not wish to do this solely as a charity, but I do not seek my own wealth as a significant goal.
Well, if you attain your goals, it is quite likely that wealth might come along with it. But, as she sighs, speaking amongst ourselves, there is merit in your goals. But I also have the duty, the responsibility to ensure that what is done is what is best for the and lands and the city of origin. To fight a war prematurely when one is not entering the war from a position of strength would not be the best of decisions for the people of origin. We will need more in the stone line and the oath bound to challenge Jem.
Certainly. My thoughts is that perhaps we undermine the gem contingent within the city, weakening their presence perhaps subtly, and strengthening Origin itself in so doing. So, while you take from your enemy, you gain yourself.
I approve of this. I approve of this general plan. I would have you do a service, one that would seem small, which is significant. There is a gate that is a small road. It is frequently manned by the households of nobles and so forth. It is not a major road, but it is significant because it is the site where many people from the west enter the city. People from the highlands and the jungle paths. It's where strangers first meet law, and where greed whispers before justice can speak too many times. And it's been mishandled by those more eager for tolls than for truth. I would have your oath-bound take the duty. 1 week, not to extract wealth, but to welcome, witness, and watch. No swords drawn, law upheld, courtesy shown. If your soldiers can do this, then I will know that they're truly not red fangs.
I think Cyclone nods, just like in acknowledgement, like, yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
She looks at Finn and Saelen and says, "You do not seem to be lesser among this circle, but you have been quiet thus far. Have you words you would speak?"
Finn will kind of look to Saelen first to see if she wants to speak or has any words to give.
I'll kind of nod. I am a healer, both by inclination and by that which is written in my soul. I came here by happenstance, and my path joined with these, my friends, by accident. But I choose to stay. I have very little that I wish to achieve other than advancing knowledge, especially of how to heal, and taking care of people. What you need from us, I will support. And if I find it problematic, I will raise my objections. But unless and until something threatens me and mine, I am at your service. And I will bow slightly, not very much, because she's a prince, whatever. And then kind of step back and just kind of pet Helbor. He's like my living fidget toy, I guess.
Seems like he's totally comfortable with that. She nods. I see. Well, have you any other questions or concerns?
For me, if there is anyone here who is in need of medical care that cannot otherwise obtain it, I'd ask that you send them my way. Or your advisors, not you, of course. And I will see what I can do.
She just sort of smiles and nods and says, I think that can be okay. Do any of the rest of you have any concerns?
Finn will just we will take the Oathbound down to the gate you requested, show them that they can behave. If you will provide for us the stipulations you need and the duties you require, we will follow your rules, your laws there, and do as asked.
And she nods, stands, and Lokras approaches you all and says, if you would with me. And he takes you out of the audience, out of the sitting room, and kind of leads you on a walk into a garden where he's going to ask basically, hey, what do you need that you don't have for the Oathbound?
Nim will start talking about logistics and things that they are looking to acquire, but he wants to do so in such a way where it becomes equitable for both of them it becomes equitable for both parties, because he doesn't want just something for free, but he also doesn't want so many strings attached that we can't possibly keep up with it all.
Well, I mean, what exactly does he have to offer?
Use of the Oathbound, potentially.
If Finn could be part of the negotiations, he would be looking also to make sure that the Oathbound, as an extension of the group, as at least in his mind, working for their pay, or at least earning the revenue that would be used to support them.
Right.
Once again, standing on their own. So what would they be getting for is the position at the duty gate going to be just a rite of passage kind of thing of like?
No, they will pay for that. They'll get paid for that. But what he's putting on the what he's putting on the table is, you need a lot of boots. You need medical supplies. You need things that you cannot afford right now and are fairly unlikely to come up with on short notice. And he is offering to put that at your disposal. He can even come up with 10 war horses if you ask him. And
what are we offering him?
He says, merely gratitude and the knowledge that you owe a debt of honor. That's all. That will be worth more, I think, in the final analysis than silver that you don't have.
I will also offer, and I speak only for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks directly at the prince when he says that. When he says this.
It's a conversation with Lokras.
Yeah, we're off to the side talking to her advisor, or her advisors, basically.
Oh, did she leave?
She dismissed you, and Lokras escorted you out into a garden.
Okay, then I'll be speaking then I'll look directly at him when I say this. My apologies, I misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
I can also offer my personal services in defense of Origin when and if the time ever comes for it.
He says, I would expect nothing less.
We are understood then.
says it will take me a day or two to make the arrangement. Have you the where are the firewall? Will you be delivering? I don't want you to deliver them to the palace or anything. Where are they? I will have some of my people come by.
Logan doesn't remember where they are, but
They're in a warehouse that is owned by Mazari Nashan.
Yeah. Do we want to, out of character, do we want to tip our hand already that he is involved? Or do we want to arrange a pickup
I would move them to the
somewhere that
barracks.
isn't traceable?
I would probably just move them to the barracks, to be honest, or to the.
yeah,
I
I'd
would
say
say
I
we could
think
move them.
yeah, I'd
we
say
need to
let's
move the other half anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we move them to the barracks and arrange a pickup from there?
Yeah, that
could
sounds the best.
I'm fairly certain the merchant would be more than happy to get them out of his warehouse to where they're not going to be tied to him.
Yeah.
Right, and then if they're not in his warehouse, then he doesn't have people coming in with any other reasons to look around. Because it's entirely possible this merchant is 100% on the up and up. But if he's not, he's going to be like, no, you can take them, and nobody needs to poke around my warehouse.
Having 400 unregistered fire wands is going to get him would get him arrested and interrogated. Then it doesn't matter how honest the rest of his business is, he wants them out.
Yep. So I
Nope,
kind of
and-
figured we could get them out.
And I will, before I step away, I'll also inquire about what I need to do to get the 200 that we're keeping registered to make sure they're legal.
Mm-hmm.
But I do need to step away and walk my neighbor's dog. I apologize. I will be back as quickly as possible.
All right, no worries.
Finn would probably also at this point inquire about the other mercenary companies that they're aware of in the city of origin, and how many of them have contracts with Jim.
There are a number of them, all of whom are on Gem's contract. There's a company of Sabuki, there's a couple of different infantry units. The Dire Winds are the top of the line, and then there's the Ash Vultures, which are garbage. They're Red Fang's level of garbage. And so, yeah.
Ash Vultures and Dire Winds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's also a Sabuki company. So, Sabuki are a Desert Raider tribe.
Yeah, not real fond of them if I remember right.
That we correct.
Because in Finn's mindset, it's if we're going to start cutting ties to Jim, this would be a good place to start.
As we're kind of doing info things, whatever, I would like to stop in and see Little Bat's father or uncle. Whose
Zari
name-
Mashan?
Yes.
Zari Mashan?
Yes,
Zari
and
Mashan.
for lack of a better word, I would like a rundown of which merchants are gem sympathizers and what they sell.
That's kind of a very broad category. But
It doesn't have to be exhaustive. I mean, as a player, this is target list.
then I will tell you there are more than a few of them, and they are you can get the list. I don't have a ton of them memorized right now.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly acceptable. Like I said, this is more so I know who I want to target for taking from Peter to pay Paul.
Definitely. All right, I will get you a better target list. I will get you a better target list.
Mhm. And I am fully on board with, if we steal 50 pairs of boots, 10 of them go to the barracks, and, we'll send some of them to wherever and sell some of them. You know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to bulk dump them. We'll use some and spread them around.
Okay.
Be it through regular merchants or whatever. As an example, not specifically necessarily that, but
Fair enough. All right. Anything else exciting that you guys want to do?
I mean, part of me wants to just rob Madhu Jarek blind, but I feel like that's the Chaos Monkey coming out on me, and it's not the most advantageous thing to actually do for the game.
I'm honestly surprised he's still alive.
I can change that.
But in a sense, it's more fun to have him there to mess with. At least...
I mean, you're not wrong.
But yeah, part of me wants to... I think I need a better network established to be able to get rid of a whole boatload of uncut gems before I just do that, though.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I'm just speaking a little bit as a player, I suppose.
All I'm going to say is, I don't think we use our powers for chaos nearly enough.
I mean, look, if given Cyclone's background and everything, how complicated would it be to fence a haul of uncut gems? Let me ask that, in world context.
Depending on which avenue you go through it, not too terribly difficult. I don't see why it would be a problem. Especially since there's a Gem Cutters Guild in town.
Mm-hmm.
You can make them unrecognizable with very little effort.
Mm-hmm. And Jarek, through Parviz dealing with him, he basically kind of shunned the Gem Cutters Guild as like, look, I'll sell you the gems, but you're on your own to go deal with getting them cut, right? Like, he appeared to almost...
Well, he has some cut stones, but the majority of what he has is uncut stones, and he doesn't offer, stone cutting. He recommends, as he should, recommends the local Gem Cutters Guild to, yeah.
Okay. Because, I mean, I would ideally like to liquidate them in a manner that doesn't draw attention.
I would say that, honestly, the best thing that you could, the best thing would be to have them split, recut, or otherwise, basically find a crooked jeweler, lapidary, or gem cutter, and then do it that way.
I also don't want y'all to forget that I am kind of cultivating a little bit of influence, and I'll talk to you, John, a little bit later on how to do that mechanically in the game with folks who don't necessarily fly above the radar, so we might be able to find someone untrustworthy using those.
And Steve's character also has contact with a criminal information broker, which is, who's crooked enough not to keep records is definitely the sort of question he could answer. I
was going to say, as a bartering chip, is Saelen comfortable with me mentioning her services as far as the clinic to this individual?
Sure.
Okay.
As long as they are comfortable with the fact that there's no... The minute you walk through my door, as far as I'm concerned, you're on neutral territory. I don't care what your beef is with the dude sitting next to you. I would prefer that you not, immediately walk out the door and stab each other and then have to turn around and come right back. But, the clinic is neutral. And it will stay that way if I have to, write that on the wall in blood.
It seems like we all kind of have our projects to work on. Is Saelen doing the clinic, Cyclone getting his network together. Finn would probably be looking to expand the Oathbound, maybe even at the expense of the Ash Vultures. If they're as bad as the Red Fang were, he probably would want to pick apart and take the elements that are useful and disband the rest.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure anybody that's willing to join an organization called Ash Vultures. Yeah, I don't think, anybody with their mama is going to miss them. And even then, it could be a toss-up.
So, I mean, like, that's probably what he'd be looking to do, is, like, make contact with the Ash Vultures. See what the best route to disband, like, to take them down and either bring them into our own, or, I mean, because I'm guessing at this point the Oathbound are going to kind of be our foremost unit, our force, and if we can start expanding them to protect the merchants, then we can start collecting duties for that, along with guarding the gates. So we can start getting that financing, and Finn is definitely all about standing on your own 2 feet, so you definitely want them to generate their own income rather than relying on generosity. That probably rankles him quite a bit. But
well, I mean, what are you planning to hire them out to do?
I mean, right now, like they said, they're doing the duties, but since we have the connections with the merchants, and we're talking about moving gyms and things of that nature, he would definitely see that would be something to earn money through, to have that connection with the merchants and protecting the cargo.
Moving illegal, moving stolen goods is not the sort of thing you want to have a mercenary army or a mercenary company escorting, because that.
Well, I meant like more legitimate stuff.
Lot of, okay.
Yeah, like more, like, he wouldn't be more legitimate revenues of income. I mean, like I said, the merchants, I mean, they've got to have actual legitimate ones. So, and just present them as, and being like, hey, this is a actual origin-based mercenary, not Jim. That might, especially among people that want to throw off the shackles of Jim, probably, the money cycles into us. It stays here. The soldiers will take the money, they will spend it here. This is a local group, and so he'll be looking to once again, like I said, get rid of the Ash Vultures as best he can. The Dire Winds seem like they're an actual professional group, so I'm guessing that's going to be a little more difficult. So he'll probably start with the low-hanging fruit if he can.
Okay.
And then also get rid of the raiders that are Jim, tied to Jim, which Cyclone doesn't seem to like them either. But he will be doing his best to try to make them a proper mercenary group, and also something they can use for their own needs.
Okay. All right.
Not sure what Parviz his plans are, or Nim, but
like I said, I think I'm just at this point trying to set up networks, and Jarek just seems like a good hit too, because you can get a lot of value with relatively little bulk. Use that to finance a crew and so on.
I am absolutely down with that. I mean, he's kind of a dick.
Exactly. He put a hit out on a kid.
Huh?
So yeah, I think that's what I'm doing, is planning a hit on his place, and then probably use a gem and the clinic information to barter with underworld guy whose tab is hidden, to like, look, this is what I need, here's something for you and information, and then build from there, so to speak.
Okay. We're kind of at the point where I'm running down and we're running out of time, so I will. Yeah. I think that's what we're going to wrap it for the night. So.
No, I mean, I think it gives you a lot of stuff that you have to prepare for next time, and
Yeah,
we'll make our dreams come true.
Yeah.
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and RPGs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast, on Discord at Me and Steve RPGs, and as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.